This is Confessions of a Recovering Narcissistic. Today we're going to talk about assignments. We've talked about some of the clients, such as Fred and Mike, and how they were able to make a recovery. What does that look like? I mean, the best counselors are not the ones that just sit there and listen and blame other people for your problems. The best counselors are the ones that are concerned with the client's character development. Good character. Good character focus has been lost. It was lost a long time ago. And that's unfortunate. Good character, I mean, that's, love it or hate it, I happen to think America's a great country. Living overseas will make you see just how great America is. Being self-governed was part of the foundation of the idea of America. But that requires good character. So what happened to character? People either weren't taught it or they were fatherless and so they could not emulate, or motherless. But let's face it, the moral law is usually passed down from the dad. Comforting usually happens from the mom. It doesn't mean the mom can't teach that. She can, and can very well. But most of the time, it's the dad that passed down the moral law. That's why when you talk to a police officer and some of the biggest problems they're having is with young men, they commit a crime, and the police officer tells them no, and the perpetrator gets really ticked off because nobody had ever told them no before. Well, guess what? Guess who tells a child no? Usually it's the dad laying down the moral law. Obviously, moms can say it too. I'm not being sexist. Please don't write negative comments. It's just generally speaking. If we can't talk generally, you can't talk about anything, because the opposite of talking generally is including every special interest group, and that's just maddening. So let's just face it. There is human nature. Let's just speak generally. And generally speaking, if there's not a father in the home, that the moral law is not passed down. And what is the moral law? Well, there's several examples. The best example, I think, is probably found in the Bible, especially the Old Testament. The legal system in America and England was based upon Old Testament law. That's been clouded by recent developments, especially in the 70s with the advent of CRT, which is critical race theories based on Marxism. And Marxism, if you talk to anybody that's lived in a Soviet country, doesn't work. Never has worked. You look at Germany, tried it in the 70s, and then with all the riots and so on, they finally gave up on it, thank God. But what about help for the narcissistic personality disorder? Assignments. I'm talking about a guy named Clyde. Again, he's a client. His name's been changed to protect the guilty. Clyde thought pretty highly of himself. He was a Christian. He went to church, had a wife and a kid, baby, 2 years old. He had grandiose ideas of playing in a Christian rock band. He played bass and guitar on the worship team at his church on Sunday. He was good. He was trained. Give him that much. I mean, he's good enough he could probably play in a coffee house. You can't always say that about volunteer musicians at a church. But Clyde had a problem. He thought too highly of himself. That caused friction in just about every relationship because it was his idea or it was wrong. Now, right or wrong thinking is not always bad. But if it's your way or the highway, sorry, that kind of crosses the line. That's the way it was with Clyde. Don't know the root cause because Clyde quickly going after 6 sessions, but at least he got a little better in the sense of he was able to admit he was wrong. That went a long way with Clyde. There's a book by Schultz called Being Wrong. And it's written about 2010. It's a great book. I'm not the first to say it, but I agree with it that every student between the ages of 15 and 25 should read it, especially college freshmen, especially in today's environment, because it teaches the idea of the benefit of dialoguing with people that think differently than ourselves. And when somebody has narcissistic personality disorder, they only want to hear their version of things. They don't want to dialogue with other people. You look at all this woke student thing. They want to squelch free speech. Free speech, Western civilization is based upon free speech. Going back to the Greeks, the idea of being able to dialogue. Now, granted, modernism, going back at least a couple hundred years, modernism did, I think, spawn a little bit of godlessness. But there are benefits to modernism. There was also capitalism. And before you mock capitalism, look at the opposite. Before that was serfdom. And you want everyone to be poor, have everyone be a bunch of serfs and only a couple of kings or queens, and that's it. Everybody's equally poor. And that's what Marxism wants. And that's just ridiculous. I love the American dream in the sense of somebody that comes from nothing can make something of themselves simply by working hard, making good decisions, and having good character. I love that. But back to Clyde. He was given an assignment. It's kind of funny. The assignment was he goes to church on a cold day in winter, that he goes to church without shoes. That he wear normal, nice clothes, something he would wear to work, and he had a desk job for his day job. And he had to go to church without shoes. Dress socks, black socks, gray slacks. I had connections at the church, and so I got a report later from a third party that he did, in fact, go to church without shoes. And it helped him because, A, he was obedient. And let's face it, a lot of narcissistic people, especially the ones with personality disorder, don't want to obey authority. And so it switched something in his brain to obey authority. And that was important. As long as somebody's not telling you to do something extremely wrong, there's authority in marriage, there's authority at work, there's authority in government. If you believe the Bible, which is wise to look to the Bible for truth, okay? If you believe the Bible, kings are established by God. You look in that and think Daniel chapter 2, it says that. God appoints kings. Okay. Well, you look at everything. Look at marriage. The man and woman in marriage are accountable to each other. Think about that. If you're accountable to somebody, that's a form of authority. If you disagree with that, look at all the marriages that fail when somebody doesn't yield to the other, to the needs of the other especially if they have narcissistic personality disorder. I like to call them narcs. If a narc is in a marriage, if one or both are narcs, I give the marriage 3 years max. 7 years if they have reason to stay together, but then just get sick of each other because they couldn't get their way. Yeah, a lot of marriages fail because of personality flaws. You look at people that get married only twice, guess what? They fixed their character flaws before they got married a second time. You see people that got married 3, 4, 5 times, they didn't fix their character flaws. They blame the other person and just throw them away when it didn't work out their way. What does that sound like? A lack of empathy. What's a lack of empathy? A trait of narcissistic personality disorder. Is there hope? Yes, there is. not be concerned. It's all about the mind. It's a battle for your mind and your thought life. What are you taking in? Do you read? Do you read books? Do you read newspapers? Okay, we don't have newspapers anymore. Do you read news stations, channels on the internet? Is it possible to do your own research to confirm what you're reading is true? Okay, first of all, if all you read is the news, you're going to have nothing but anxiety. Only check the news once a day max. The other thing is you need to bring in something solid into your thought life. Some say it's scripture. Some say it's copying scripture. Some say it's journaling. Jordan Peterson is very, very good, and some of his thoughts about healing have to do with journaling. What if somebody with narcissistic personality disorders, what if somebody's a narc and they feel the pain of that, and because they're angry, and they're angry because they didn't let go of some hurt from the past? Well, in the words of Jordan Peterson, journaling. Some people, and it's got to be written by hand. If you don't know how to do cursive, find out how to do it. Journaling does a lot because you can get everything out and you can let it go. Now, a journal is meant to be read by others. A diary is not the same as a diary. Diary is completely personal. No one's supposed to read it. A journal is meant to be read by others. So a journal, if you write something that you don't want to get out in a journal, okay, then write it on a separate page in the journal. And when you're done, go and either shred it or burn it or both. But at least you get it out. Journaling is quite powerful. Because there is hope. Don't let people tell you otherwise. There are people that don't have hope for narcs getting better. It is possible to get better. These are confessions of a recovering narcissistic. This is Maximus. Thank you very much.